Now, fresh controversy has erupted after the Karnataka government and the Bangalore Development Authority denotified another 500 acres of land in the Arkavathy Layout project near Yelahanka that has been struck by land acquisition roadblocks since the past 10 years. While the government is in a soup over the issue for denotifying the land, citizens and experts have begun to lose faith in the BDA. They want the body to be scrapped entirely for its inability to deliver on its functions. Lakshmi Sivadas reports.
In 2003, the BDA had notified land acquisition of over 3,000 acres in Arkavathy village near Yelahanka. It's been over 10 years since the first notification, but the allottees are yet to be given their sites. People who buy BDA-approved sites are usually attracted by affordable prices and clear titles. However, the Arkavathy layout has seen controversy over land acquisition right from day one. Steady denotification of land has seen the area halved to just over 1,700 acres today. The issue has thrown light on the failure of the BDA to successfully allocate sites and build affordable housing. Experts feel that the BDA should refocus on its key role as a planning authority instead.
BDA has not adjusted to itself to its fast growth. Because it was not able to cope up with the developmental process of the Bangalore, so other organizations were created. It is not the job of only the developing authority to develop sites and sell it. It has to also develop the infrastructure. Facilities like water supply, sewerage system, all these needs to, even though there is BWSSB and other things, but the main organization is to coordinate with them. Government should look at on policies and guidelines rather than going for building themselves.
This is not the only time the BDA has faltered. The BDA's affordable housing scheme launched in 2012 too saw few takers. Of the 9,118 invites sent out in 2012 and 2013, only 3,400 people subscribed to it. In 2008, the BDA announced the formation of a new colony with over 4,000 acres of land for the Nada Prabhu Kempe Gowda layout. In July 2014, the Karnataka High Court quashed land acquisition in the area over procedural flaws. Experts feel that the land acquisition is one of the biggest hurdles faced by the BDA. According to them, the BDA should give the reins of building hubs entirely to private developers.
The dual role, which is the dual hat that the BDA is putting on when acquiring the lands. The land acquisition needs a specific task force that goes into the integrity of land acquisition itself. Unfortunately, BDA hasn't been very apt at it, and in the process actually causing a lot of concern for the allottees at a subsequent stage. The role of BDA is now being played by the private developers. So private developers have stepped in the last 10, 12, 15 years and have actually started developing Bangalore. So they have created mini hubs. From a master planning and as a town planner, we do need a BDA. But I think for BDA to create these micro markets and allot lands, the answer is no.
Citizens and experts are now questioning the need for the BDA in Bangalore, considering their inability to successfully execute various plans for over a decade now. They suggest the merging of the BDA and the BMRDA as a centralized agency to execute master plans within the city. In Bangalore, Lakshmi Sivadas, NDTV.
Now, the Arkavathy layout issue has blown into a major controversy in the Karnataka Assembly. Allegations are that vested interests in real estate influenced the state government's decision to denotify a large chunk of land from the Arkavathy layout project. A 2,700-acre project with 20,000 sites finalized in 2004 is today reduced to just over 1,700 acres with 11,000 sites on offer. This affects about 8,000 allottees who have been waiting since the past decade for a site. In all this, it's crucial to throw the scanner on the role of the Bangalore Development Authority, whose role in acquiring land for development has miserably flopped in the Arkavathy layout case. To discuss this today, we are joined by Dr. A. Ravindra, former Chief Secretary of the Government of Karnataka, and also Leo Saldana, Coordinator and Trustee, Environment Support Group. Dr. Ravindra, Leo, thank you so much for joining me today. Leo, let me begin with you. We know the function of the BDA has been to acquire land, provide urban infrastructure, and also provide for housing. But there are several claims that most of its layout projects, they're either stuck in litigation, housing projects haven't taken off, and of course, urban civic infrastructure is in a bad shape. Has there been a total systemic failure of the BDA? Would you say that?
Well,
I would put it this way: as for as long as I can remember, the BDA has been an agency of the government that has failed to deliver the goods it was designed to deliver. And I would say the design flaws are in the statute. Let's remember that the BDA as an institution was created during the period of emergency and modeled largely on the Delhi Development Authority. So if you look at the basic features of the law which governs the Bangalore Development Authority, they are draconian. They use the eminent domain in its most ruthless form. For a very long time, till the new Land Acquisition Act came, BDA was known to acquire land from the farmers, make them penniless, and then start distributing sites as if they were doing charity to people who did not have houses in the city. I remember my dad struggled to get a BDA site. It took him like several attempts, maybe 9 attempts. Now, right to housing is part of your fundamental right. I never understood why the state and its agency, which is supposed to fulfill an entitlement of a citizen, makes it so extraordinarily difficult. In fact, BDA is a representation of why you should not have faith in such parastatal institutions. In fact, I would have been very happy a parastatal institution like the BDA did not exist at all. Planning and development is a function of the people. People elect representatives to the municipality. And at least from 1992, when we had a fundamental change in the constitution and the Nagarpalika Act came about, the BDA should have ceased to be then itself. But this kind of cronyism that the BDA has become, where the planning agency is held by the cabinet, and the cabinet is the one which is held by the chief minister, and the whim of the chief minister becomes the dictum for the Bangalore Development Authority. And that is why you hear all these scandals breaking out ever so frequently. And as I said, it is all in the statute. It is an organization which is not meant to function to fulfill a public service.
Dr. Ravindra, would you agree with Leo that the BDA is suffering from cronyism? From the time when you were in office till today, how has the functioning of the BDA changed? Do you feel there's a lack of focus, a lack of coordination in the BDA?
Yeah, BDA does suffer from several deficiencies. See, it was set up in the year 1976. BDA is both a planning authority, that is a city planning authority, and a development authority. As a development authority, it was supposed to acquire land, develop layouts, and distribute sites to the people. But unfortunately, the pace at which the work of land acquisition and formation of layouts and sites has gone about has been very tardy, and it has been fraught with serious problems relating to land acquisition itself. The process of acquisition has been very, very slow. It gets into litigation and in the question of determination of compensation. So all these problems have contributed to making BDA a rather inefficient body so far as the function of site distribution has been concerned.
So if you look at the example of Delhi specifically, the Delhi Development Authority also faced several challenges with respect to land acquisition. Recently, they've come out with a new policy called land pooling, wherein the landowners get a majority participation in the process of pooling land together, and they also get a share of the developed land. Could that be a solution for the BDA going ahead?
I say, let me tell you, there is a basic difference between Delhi and Bangalore. In Delhi, DDA from a long time has been constructing flats and allotting them to people. In Bangalore, the policy followed was acquire land, make sites and distribute sites to or plots to the people. And that is where the problem has come in now, because if you want to distribute individual sites, you need to acquire large extents of land, and once it gets into litigation, it becomes extremely difficult. Whereas in Delhi, they went for large blocks of houses and apartments, and they were able to allot them. In fact, now BDA is trying to do the same. In fact, I had myself advocated a change in policy that you must stop distributing individual sites. That is where the problem comes, even regarding allotment of sites. Different categories, G category, discretionary allotment, and so on. And once again, litigation comes up. Right. So it is time BDA gives up the policy of allotment of individual sites. Right. They should, if at all, go in for flats where you need not acquire such large extents also.
Right. And Leo, if I could bring you in here, Leo, do you feel the BDA should come out of housing totally and just focus on urban development? Is that because private developers in Bangalore are doing a good job of developing self-sustaining micro markets? Should BDA get out of housing? What is the solution do you propose?
See, I don't advocate at all that the government should get out of housing. There is also the Karnataka Housing Board, which has a basic purpose of providing housing for all. And the private sector does not at all provide housing for the middle classes or the lower middle classes. And forget it, they don't even think about the poor. The private sector is there to make money, and that's all they do. The real estate sector has essentially taken advantage of the weakness of the BDA as a planning organization. Because it's a body which is unaccountable to the people, it follows the diktat of the cabinet, of the urban development minister, of the chief minister. The chairman is an appointee of the chief minister. He is not an elected person. The commissioner is appointed by the state government. He is not an elected person. And there's nobody who is an elected representative who is monitoring BDA there. It is all that's why I use the very strong expression cronyism. You get into BDA because you know somebody up there. Otherwise you can't be there. And that is, if you study the BDA from its inception in 1976 to now, about 30 years, what you essentially see is an organization which has constantly got into trouble for massive corruption. Corruption in terms of planning, corruption in terms of unplanning, corruption in notifying, denotifying, acquisition, illegal acquisition, over-acquisition, all sorts of forms. And then this whole thing, drama that plays out every now and then. Opposition always accuses the ruling party that, you allotted sites to your people, you didn't allot sites to our people. Now, if you look at that, what you're really looking at is an organization breaking down the sense of a city. An organization which is not allowing the city to evolve organically. An organization which does not know what planning is. Planning is not something that you do by just sitting in a drawing room and drawing lines on a map. Right. Planning is a very active process of allowing people to participate in shaping their futures. Their livelihoods depend on where they live. Today, the cities are created in such a way by agencies like the BDA and the private sector which manipulates in such a way that the poor people cannot live inside the city. Right. They have made land values so crazily expensive that it's simply impossible for a poor person to live and afford even a rented house inside the city. Most of them commute 4 hours. And 30 to 40% of our population is poor. So basically, what are we talking about? This is not an organization which is working for the people.
So the unanimous view is that the BDA
on that note
has...
itself, it has to be scrapped.
Unanimous view is that the BDA has failed in its functions to provide infrastructure, housing, and actually deliver on its functions. Clearly, the other big issue is also of multiplicity of authorities. You have the BDA, the BBMP, the BMRDA. Experts want one centralized body to...
and then you have the BMICAPA, then you have the BIAPA.
Right. So bring all these bodies together and have a clear vision.
Every time a new project comes up, you have a new authority.
Right. So serious allegations of cronyism and corruption against the BDA. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today on this show.